focus, sort of, kind of. All right, looks pretty good. All right, everyone. I'm not even sure where to start. It's the first full week of school. There's so much stuff to do that you're just constantly running, and I wish so much that I could just record and show you every single thing that happens, because I think it's really good insight for folks that want to become teachers, or for folks that are teachers, and it would give them like maybe some new ideas, or that, you know, to be honest, maybe other teachers would watch and like give me some feedback and let me know how they would do stuff. It would be really interesting as well. But you can't record everything in school all the time. Like, you don't have permission from everyone, and so it's tough to make those calls of like when you're recording and when you're not. But I'm on my last prep of the day, so I thought I would just run down kind of what happened this week and the good and trying stuff that has happened so far. So the other day in class, we decided that we're going to work on plot development. And if you remember this is like this little triangle thing that you did when you were in high school or elementary school. And we're going to go a little deeper with plot development this year, since my guys are in 9th and 10th grade. So what we did with the 10th graders was, I have stuff everywhere, which you can't really see right now, but I brought in a number of books, and I thought to do plot development a little bit differently, we were going to read children's books because they're short and because they typically follow that arc of a story very well, and so that's where we started. So we read Where the Wild Things Are, this great book, How to Get a Girlfriend, that my son brought home when he was like 6 from the Scholastic Reading traveling book show thing. An awesome book by Dallas Clayton. Dallas Clayton is fantastic. He also wrote this book. It's called It's Never Too Late, which is essentially a children's book for adults. And then some slightly odder books. The Incredible Book Eating Boy by Oliver Jeffers, who's like one of my favorite authors, and I love these books so much. Hot Hands and Ralph and the Story of the Weirdo Winter, about a little girl whose hands are constantly on fire, so she has to wear large metal gloves so that she doesn't burn anyone and no one will be her friend, until one day someone does. Green Eggs and Ham. So I'll be honest, as an adult, as a parent, I don't love reading Dr. Seuss books. They're super annoying to read over and over and over again, like Hop on Pop and Green Eggs and Ham, because they just keep adding lines on, so you have to keep reading the same thing over and over and over again. And when you're tired at the end of the day and your kids are going to bed, that's the last kind of book you want to read. We read it in class the other day. The kids read it fine, and it was really funny. A couple of things that I noticed. One, reading stories to grown children who are between 14 and 16 years old had them captivated in class. Like, everyone was paying attention. I had maybe 1 or 2 guys in the class that were like not having it, but I'm not even sure they really weren't having it. I think it was more like I can't let everyone know that I like this, so like I'm gonna act like I'm too cool. But everyone else just kind of sat there staring at us as we were reading the stories, and myself and Miss Yonkers took turns, and it was so fun and so funny to see like these like tough dudes that like to act like they're, you know, hanging on the corner, like, you know, they're on the street all the time, and then to read a children's book to them about someone with fiery hands, or a kid that eats too many books, or a little boy that wears a monster costume. It was awesome. So at the end of class, I went on YouTube, I typed in hip hop beats, and I found a couple of beats, and I played them, and then I asked kids to read this book again. What ended up happening was kids rapping Green Eggs and Ham to the beat, and then kind of tag teaming. They would pass the book off to someone else, and then somebody else would come up and rap also. It was so good. I think this would work in any grade. Like, put on a free beat that you can just get on YouTube, type in hip hop beat, doesn't matter what it is, the kids will love it. And then ask someone to just read the book, and they will not be able to just read it. They will find the flow, and it was so awesome. So we went from that class where I was on 10, and then that just benefited every single class after that. The other big thing that happened this week was there are a number of teachers right now that are like having trouble with a kid or with a class or with something else. And I just can't stress this enough, because I think it happens so often in my school that I forget that it's important, or that not everyone does this. When someone is having an issue, I make sure that I check in with all the new teachers, right? So I've met almost every new teacher in the school. I go around and I just tell them who I am, where they can meet me, stuff like that. And what we do is we check in with one another and let each other know that we have each other's backs. And so this is so different, because you're not just having a problem with a child and calling home. You're not just having trouble with a class and like touching base with administration or telling the principal that there's a problem. You're trying to handle it with the other teachers. So if I'm having a class that someone else is having trouble with and someone else is having trouble with, we all work together as a group to try and handle that situation. And so what that's going to look like this year is that any student that I have trouble with, I'm also trying to just spend one-on-one time with and slowly chisel away at that child until I get it to a point where like we're connecting, and then in class, I'm not having as much of an issue. This has worked almost every single time. Now, sometimes I'm not the one that's going to like be able to really get through to that kid. It's gonna be someone else on the team, but that's what we do. We work as a group, we have each other's backs, and you could do this if your school's not super tight, if your teachers don't talk to one another or you don't act this way, that's fine, but I'm sure you could find one person or two other people to create your own small little group with, and you all can do that as well. And I've done this last year, I've talked about this in other videos, where like I'll have trouble with a kid or I find that like a particular student is having a hard time at our school, maybe they came from far away, they don't really have friends yet, I'll just eat lunch with them. And then maybe me and two other teachers will eat lunch with them and just hang out. It's not like an intervention or anything. We're just asking about who they are and what they're interested in. And that goes really, really far when you're trying to help other kids. Another thing that I think that worked out really well this year that I suggest other people do as well. I probe the lunchroom. And I look for kids that looked like me when I was a freshman, not necessarily looked like me, but are sitting by themselves or hiding somewhere in the lunchroom. I hate when that happens. And I don't use the word hate too much, but I hate it when that happens because I want kids to feel accepted. I want them to feel like they're a part of something. So I have a couple of my dudes, and my guy Cephas that went to Costa Rica with me, this guy, he is beyond awesome. And Cephas is in charge now this year of finding kids that are sitting by themselves and inviting them over to his table. I tell him that you don't have to be friends with them if you don't particularly like that student, or if they don't want to talk, you don't have to pressure them into being your friend or something like that. What you're doing is you're taking someone that's alone and you're letting them know that they're not alone. And you're letting them sit at your table so they can feel to be a part of something. If they want to be friends with you, if they want to connect, that's cool, but at least they're not sitting by themselves. And that is huge. Saw a couple of dudes today, and rather than the teacher going over and say something, I put Cephas on it, and Cephas says, he's handling those situations for me. That just builds good community in a school. It gives kids ownership over their school. It gives kids a sense of like that they are someone and they have something to offer to somebody else. And it's also just bringing those other dudes into the fold so that we don't have problems down the line of like kids feeling too lonely and feeling like they don't have anything or anyone at the school to connect with. And then today and tomorrow we're doing testing. Yonkers and I decided we were doing testing because I'm a real big advocate of testing all the time, but I need to find some levels that these guys are on and figure out like how high they are or how low they are so that we can meet them where they are and then like destroy it this year and just take over. So I'm super pumped about that. Look at this desk real quick. This thing's crazy. Got all this mess going on over here. I got mess behind my desk. We picked independent reading books the other day, so those are all over here. They're all over there. They're all over the front. I have a few in another room. Every Wednesday's independent reading day in our class. This year, I have almost no parameters for independent reading, right? I'm going totally Colby Sharp on everyone. And if you don't know who Colby Sharp is, you should check him out. Where I am literally willing to order almost any book for my students that they're interested in, so long as it's like, my rules this year are, it just can't be pornographic and you can't learn how to like make a bomb or something like that. Other than that, I'll order you any book that you want pretty much. The idea there is that I want the kids to be reading, and I'm not so concerned on what they're reading. I just want them to read more than anything for a sustained period of time, because that's what's going to get them better. So if you are at a lower reading level and you want to read Diary of a Wimpy Kid, guess what, man? Go for it. If you want to read graphic novels, go for it. If you want to read the New York Times, go for it. Like, I'll order any book that you want so long as that helps you to read. And so I do get money from my school. This isn't coming out of my pocket, but I get a small amount every year to order books, and so that's what we're doing with it this year. I'm not ordering almost any books of my own volition, but if you want to be a doctor one day and you want books on that, I'll get it for you. I had these two twins that love books on killer whales, so I just keep ordering like every killer whale book that I can find on Amazon, and then they read through them. Another kid that loves the group NWA, and I order him every book that I can find about NWA or Eazy-E or Ice Cube, or that goes a long way. And it also shows the kids that you are willing to go a little bit further for them, and so I'll take that any day. Now it's Sunday, and I have this strange situation going on with my eye right here. I had a dream that I got in a fist fight last night, and I woke up and I had this eye. Sometimes the not-so-secret wife punches me when we're asleep. That's a true story. So I don't know if that's where this came from, but like most things, I thought I had a lot more time this week to vlog and to make videos of school. And so this upcoming week, my plan is to shoot every single day to give those of you that aren't teaching yet, or those of you that are interested, a snapshot into what it's going to look like every single day in my classroom. So we'll see. That's my plan. I'm going to try my hardest to do it, and I'm just not sure what it's going to look like, so we'll find out next week. Short of that, came home from the first day of school. I remember my first year of teaching, came home that first day of school, and I fell asleep at 5:30 on my living room floor, and I didn't wake up until the next morning in the same exact location. 12 years in, I had to go ride bikes with my daughter after school, and I was running for some reason in all of my school clothes, even though it was like 92 degrees outside, while she was riding her bike, and then she ran into a street sign. And kept screaming that she broke her leg, even though she didn't even get a scratch on her. And all the neighbors came out, and people were stopping and seeing what was going on. And life of a not so single dad. Well, you were home, but still. Then I was on a podcast this week called Hustle Like Gary Vee. This guy Ivan reached out to me, and he does a podcast where he interviews people that have met Gary Vaynerchuk or been on the Ask Gary Vee show or been on Daily Vee or whatever. And I just kind of talked a little bit more about kind of my behind the scenes experience with my students last spring when we went up to VaynerMedia for the day. Then something I'm really excited about is I booked 3 really, really great guests for Teacher Talk Live that are going to be coming up in the next month or two. One is Taylor Molly, the poet and former teacher. If you've ever seen
I make kids work harder than they ever thought they could. I can make a C+ feel like a Congressional Medal of Honor, and I can make an A- feel like a slap in the face. How dare you waste my time with anything less than your very best? You want to know what I make? I make kids sit through 40 minutes of study hall in absolute silence. No, you may not work in groups. No, you cannot ask me a question, so put your hand down. Why won't I let you go to the bathroom? Because you're bored, and you don't really have to go, do you?
Yeah, that guy. So I'm really excited to have him on. Jonathan Kozel, who was one of my heroes when I started teaching, and I was just devouring every teaching book that I could get. He made a couple of books that were just, he is the reason that I started teaching in the types of schools that I teach in. Done. And then my absolute teaching hero of all time, right? There's only 2 people whose books I still give out to new teachers. One is Father Gregory Boyle, who is a priest and works with gang members in South Central Los Angeles. And the other one is Rafe Esquith, who wrote books like Teach Like Your Hair's on Fire, Real Talk for Real Teachers. I emailed him and he agreed to come on the show. And it is, for me, kind of like, if you like sports, I don't like sports. I'm not a good sports metaphor person, but if you like sports and you called up some sporty dude and you were like, hey, you want to play sports with me? And they were like, yep. And you were like, yes. That was really the worst metaphor I ever gave in my life. I am beyond thrilled to have him on. It is like blowing my mind that he's going to be on the show, and I to actually talk with him and ask him questions. I also got hit up by Rowan University this week, and I'm going to go down and speak with a sorority that is based around education, and they're going to come in. Then I went to Wine Library this weekend because Gary Vaynerchuk tweeted out, who wants to come to Wine Library? And we said, I will, and he said, sure, do it. And so I went to Wine Library and I met a whole bunch of his guys there, and it was cool. And I met up with my friend that runs the Instagram site Beers With Me, and he and I drove up there, and it was cool. I bought wine because it's Wine Library. That's what you do. My favorite day of the week, it was Marley's 8th birthday, which is a little bit sad and a little bit not sad because that's my girl. A bunch of Marley's friends came over and we had this big party. My wife decorates really beautiful for parties and we had all these crazy games. They made ice cream sundaes and it was just a really wonderful day.
Cheese. On your mark, get set, go! Brody! Go, 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 go!
Then probably the funniest part of that was at the end of the party, we're all sitting around the table, the masses had largely cleared out, and I get a FaceTime from 2 of my students telling me that they were going to the cafeteria at college. You know you've made an impact on students when they're away from home for the first time and they FaceTime you just to let you know they're going to the cafeteria. Yeah, homies, that's it. So that's it. I'm looking forward to this week at school. We'll see. I have a lot of fun stuff planned. We'll see how that plays out, and we will see what this schedule of recording is going to look like coming up this week. Please let me know what you think of it in the comments section. Let me know if it's good, if it's too much, if it's not enough, if there's something else you would like to see, because really, this whole thing is for you. It's only about me insofar as I want to help you to figure out how you can be the best teacher ever. And so however I can do that, whatever part of my story helps you out is what I want to try and do. So please leave your comments below. Let me know if this helps at all. That being said, if there's anyone out there that you know is a teacher, they're just starting out, you think they need ideas, or you think this might be of help to them in any way, please pass it on. And if you haven't already, you can hit that little bell so that whenever I put up a new video, it sends a link to you and you know exactly when that happens. And just thanks so much. I really, really appreciate every single person that watches this. There she is. There's my 8-year-old. That's it, everybody. Have the best week ever. Peace.
Peace!